as you can tell, I play a predominantly quickswap heavy focused game style. For me, the most important thing is to min-max speed as much as I can. I'm here to press as many buttons as possible, as quickly as possible, and create dynamic fight sequences that just fry my dopamine circuits. So that's why we're playing on immersion mode, mostly just because it looks cool, but also because Wuthering Waves for me is completely unique in this aspect. I've never played a game that is as fast as Wuthering Waves can be, and I'm always trying to just go as fast as I can just to experience that. So my playstyle might be completely different from, I would say, the majority of the player base, but I still feel like I can offer my opinion on Carlotta as a character and whether or not you should pull for her. So the first thing I'll say about Carlotta that I really like about this character is she's what I call grounding. A grounding character is a character that will pull you down from an aerial state back to the ground. So she has two ways of doing this. The first being in her intro skill, which is always nice to see, mostly because for some reason in this game, Kuro have decided that a lot of skills will just put you airborne, but being airborne is not really where I want to be almost ever. I'd just rather it never happened. You can't dodge in the air, as well as it's just a lot slower to play in the air. I'm not a big fan of it, and getting back to the ground requires heavy attacks, so unless you've got some kind of grounding mechanic, like Carlotta. And the second way she can bring you back to the ground is in her ultimate state. So when she casts her ultimate, afterwards, anytime you swap to her, she will be on the ground, almost no matter what. Which is overall just pretty fantastic for me personally. And I think if you're maybe a slower player, you probably won't notice as much, but it's still just a plus to have. It's just a benefit. There's no real downside to it, in my opinion. Unless you're really trying to play it in the air for some reason, but I don't know why you would want to do that. So, what she also has that I like and I enjoy when I'm playing and using a character is sticky positioning. I don't want every character on my team to have sticky positioning, but it is nice if at least one or maybe two have it. What I call sticky positioning is basically when you swap from the character to a different one and then you swap back, you'll be in the same places where you left. So this can create, again, really dynamic fight sequences that I enjoy. But on top of that, it also has the utility of being able to allow you to maneuver around the arena without just using dodge or running there, because obviously you do not want to run in this game. You want to keep pressing buttons, you want to keep attacking. So it's very nice to be able to change your positioning simply by swapping. So some people may be worried about Carlotta. Is she good at parrying or not? Because she's a gun user, most people probably assume she's bad at it, and she can't really parry attacks, but I can assure you she's probably one of the best characters in the game for parrying. I know there's some really good characters for it, like Jiang and Jianxing, but I would say Carlotta is definitely up there as one of the best parry breaks in the game. She's just incredibly reliable. I would dare say maybe even too good. She can pretty much do whatever she wants whenever she wants to do it, and she will just almost still reliably parry just by being on the field. What's more is she seems to be able to break red flash. I haven't looked into what exactly it is she's doing that is interrupting red flash, but she can do it quite consistently. So that just makes her, in my opinion, super high utility, as well as the fact that she has this ability called dispersion, which I found it on her resonance skill, but she also seems to be doing it outside of that. I'm not entirely sure if it's her ultimate or if it's something else. But dispersion is an effect that you'll see on the boss where the boss turns blue and it can't move. So at first I thought it was a bug, and I thought she was just broken. And for some reason she was completely freezing the boss for no reason. But it's actually part of her kit, and she will just stun the boss for like 1 second, 1.5 seconds, almost 2 seconds, which feels like an eternity. And it will stun the boss no matter what the boss is doing, even if it's mid attack. She will still just completely invalidate it, and it makes it a lot safer to play a fast playstyle, as well as just pretty much any playstyle. And the defensive utility of that is pretty hard to understate, to be honest with you. The only downside to using Carlotta in quickswap is during her ultimate, you don't really want to swap off her, as well as the fact that when she uses her ultimate, she will lose all of her forte stacks and not be able to cast it. She's honestly quite a complicated character in terms of how many resources she gains. She seems to have two different separate sets of resources that are a little bit easier to gain if you spend more time with her on field, but as you can see, that I'm allergic to field time, and I absolutely refuse to spend even more than 1 second if I can on a single character, because again, that's not fun for me. So there is a little bit of desynergy there in that regard, but for the most part, I didn't really notice it. And when it comes to her damage, I I know you can't see the values, but it wouldn't really help much anyway, since I'm 40 levels below this boss. Still, I've played these bosses quite a lot, and so I generally know how much damage I'm doing, and I can say that for me, Carlotta was a huge damage increase. I was able to kill bosses in almost, not quite double the time, but pretty close to it, and I was replacing Yang Yang, who was, fully sequenced Yang Yang with the rare sword from the standard banner, so she wasn't undergeared, she was definitely invested, but she's still just outperforming Yang Yang. Currently, my Carlotta has the rare sword from the rare gun from the standard banner. She doesn't have a signature weapon, but her damage is still incredibly cracked. And this is pretty par for the course when it comes to Kuro games. It's what I expected, and it's why I skipped on Yinlin, even though I think Yinlin is pretty cool aesthetically, and I would have liked to have her. I don't really have an Electro character as well, so that was a good reason for me to pull for her. But I just knew that the first character they released, or at least generally the rest of the cast, or at least majority of the characters released in this patch will be cracked. They will just be very, very good. It's just par for the course for them. It's how they did it with PGR. There's just this incremental power creep almost every time there's a major expansion or some kind of major shift with the game. Characters, they like to experiment with characters in a way that makes it so new characters that keep coming out are just so much stronger and so much more competent than other characters. And I would say that Carlotta is definitely the kind of character, in my opinion, that fits that description. Now you have to keep in mind, I am using Zeji, which does make it a little bit more. It makes it a little bit more reliable in terms of my damage. My damage is just going to be higher than people who don't have her. However, I still think that it's worth considering, even if you don't have Zeji, to pull for this character. And if you do have Zeji, she's, in my opinion, actually a must pull. I don't think she's going to be replaced by any kind of Glacio damage dealer for quite a while. And maybe upwards of a year. So I think if you need a Glacio damage dealer, you should really look at this character. I feel like the current meta for Glacier right now is 100% Jeji plus Carlotta, and I don't think any of the characters can compare to their damage, and of course their utility. If you're wondering about whether or not Jeji is worth pulling, I pulled for Jeji pretty much as soon as she came out. Not because I was pretty much interested in anything about her aesthetic, I was not super excited for that, but as soon as I saw her gameplay, I knew she would be totally cracked on the way I play, and I was looking for exactly the kind of character that she is. She's just really fun to play, in my opinion. She's very, very fast, she's very, very exciting, and with Carlotta, she's 100% meta. I don't think these two will be replaced on a Glacier team for a very, very long time. And in the trial, they have you use Baiji, I believe. I'm not a huge fan of that because of what I mentioned earlier with the positioning. All of those characters will just sort of stay at a range that I didn't really feel was right. I like to be able to move in and out of fights with bosses and not just stay at as far away as possible. So there is that to consider. Think maybe something like Sanghua or Lingyang, but I know that a lot of people like to run supports in this game. So it's up to you if you want to do that, but if you want to play a quickswap build with Carlotta, I do recommend it. I have a lot of fun playing her overall, and I don't really feel like there's any downside to
that didn't hurt.
in my opinion. She does so much damage. One thing to keep in mind is that I'm pretty new to using her, and I don't think I'm using her very well yet. I think I was struggling to understand how to use her forte, and I was definitely missing out on a lot of opportunities to get in some extra damage with that. Mostly because when you use her ultimate, it consumes all of her forte stacks. I'm not sure if that's something we want to do yet or not. She's gonna use or need a lot more testing, in my opinion, before I feel really comfortable that I'm reaching her full potential. She's a complicated character, and that just makes her more interesting to play, to be honest with you. I will say though that her ultimate cooldown is so low that energy gain might be really important on her. I don't think I have enough, even though I actually have quite a considerable amount. I think I have 40% energy gain. I still don't think it's enough because she's always able to ult, and I think maybe the cooldown is actually a lot lower than I realized. She's broken. Ah, she needs nothing. Ah, fuck. I don't think she's meant to slow the boss like this. She's not meant to do this, there's no way, it's broken. Wow, she smoked her. She smoked her. So overall, in terms of my closing thoughts on Carlotta, I think she's S tier. I think she is just straight power creep on any Glacial unit we have currently. I think she's a must pull if you have Zeji. I think she's very, very suited to quick swap playstyles. I think she can work with any playstyle, so even if you're like, I don't really want to swap that much, I want to play a lot slower, I think she will still benefit your team massively. I think I think it's hard to call her a skip unit even if you don't have Zeji, simply because of how good she is. But I also feel like there's definitely going to be some other very strong characters released in this patch. But if you pull for Carlotta, I don't really think you will be disappointed, to be honest with you. At least I'm not. But again, I have Zeji, so maybe my opinion is somewhat biased by that, so do keep that in mind. Overall, thanks for watching, and I hope that your pulls are lucky.